Hey everyone, my name's Jason Bell, and this is episode number 60. In this episode, I play 1-2 No Limit Hold'em at Texas Card House in Houston, Texas. Now, this is actually made up of two separate sessions, and one was a little bit card dead in the first one, but the action was absolutely insane in both of these sessions. I tell you, Texas Card House is the place to be for low limit poker. Well, there's a lot to get to in this session. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right into it. Okay, I take my seat at about 6:15 in the evening and buy in for the $300 maximum. Here this is about 20 minutes into the session before I get my first playable hand. I'm in the middle position seat and look down at a good one, pocket jacks. Cutoff just returned to the table and posted its blind. The end of the gun limps and the action's on me. Now my standard open in a 1-2 or 1-3 game is $15. When there are limpers in front, I'll generally bump it up to 20 or 25 depending on the amount of limpers. So here, I'll bump up the action to $20. The hijack makes the call and the under the gun calls as well. Now the hijack on my left called with several players still left to act behind, so gotta think his range is a bit stronger than most, and given we didn't see a limp raise from the under the gun, thinking maybe some suited connectors or a couple of broadways, or three ways to a flop, which is a good one. Jack 7 ace with 2 spades. Alright, middle set. But that ace could be a scare card. The under the gun checks, and I'm really hoping one of them's got an ace or a couple of spades here. No question a c-bet is in order, so I continue with the bet of $25. Maybe someone will continue with like 7-8 or something as well. The hijack thinks for a bit, but lets it go, and the under the gun folds as well, and I take this one down. Pretty quick and easy hand here, but always nice to hit a set. I want to show you guys as much as I can. Okay, this is about a rotation later. Here I'm in the +1 position and look down at ace-king offsuit. The under the gun on my right opens the action with the limp. Yep, naturally bumping this one up, and I raise up the action to $20. Folds around to the cutoff who makes the call, and the under gun calls as well. Okay, thinking the cutoff's range could be a middling pocket pair, some suited connectors, or some broadways. The under the gun may be a low pocket pair, a gapper, some broadways as well, or 3 ways to a flop, which is a good one, king 10-5 rainbow. The under the gun checks, and a c-bet is 100% in order, so I continue with the bet of $25. Probably could size up a bit and charge any draws. Queen jack is certainly in both of these guys' range, but 25 is the route I choose. Cutoff lets it go pretty quickly, but the under the gun makes the call. Interesting. So possibly queen jack, maybe something like queen 10, jack 10, or 10-9. We're off to a turn, which is the 8 of diamonds. Shouldn't really change much, but it does open the door for a backdoor flush draw. He checks and has a little under 80 behind. Yeah, I think the thing to do is go ahead and put them all in, so I put out a stack of reds to cover him. He doesn't take too long, flips over pocket deuces and lets it go, and I take another one down. That'll work. Okay, this is a few hands later. Here I'm on the button and look down at king 9 of hearts. Surprisingly, it folds to the cutoff who opens the action with the limp. Yep, when there's one limper in front of me, I generally keep my standard opening range. So here I raise up the action to $16. I veer off a bit for my standard 20 with a limper in front, so just to change things up a bit. Small blind makes the call and the cutoff calls as well. Okay, thinking standard ranges from these guys, but not thinking anything overly strong at this point. Or 3 ways to a flop, which is 4-9 ace with 1 heart. Well, middle pair and a backdoor heart draw can work with that. Small blind checks, the cutoff checks, and the action's on me. Yeah, these folks are just checking to me as the pre-flop aggressor, and that ace can certainly be in their range. I think the thing to do is check, so that's what I do. I make the check. The turn is an interesting one, though, the ace of diamonds. Now, given 2 aces are on the board, it's a bit less likely these two villains have one in their hand. Even more so now as both make the check again. Yeah, my backdoor heart draw is dead, but thinking my 9 is very likely in the lead here. Yep, time to build this thing up a bit. Want to charge any weaker 9s or maybe like a lower pocket pair, so I put out a bet of $25. The small blind interestingly makes the call and the cutoff lets it go. Now, no way he has a better 9 than myself or he'd be boated up. Likely very good here. And we're off to a river, which is the 6 of clubs. He checks again, which further confirms it. Now, what would a weaker 9 call, or maybe like pocket 7s or 8s? Think of a bet too large, he's going to let this one go. So I think about a third pot bet sounds about right. And then continue here with the bet of $35. He doesn't give it too much thought and throws out a call and chip and shows ace deuce offsuit. What the heck? He didn't lead on the turn or a river with that? Was he worried about his kicker? I mean, but still, I checked the flop, which pretty much confirmed I didn't have an ace. Well, this one sucks, but gotta shake this one off. Too bad here. Okay, this is a few rotations later. Here I'm in the big blind position and look down at a good one, ace-king offsuit. LoJack opens the action with a bet of $15. All right, first non-limp open I've seen so far. The button makes the call and the action's on me. Yep, 3-bet, here we come. Now, I generally like to raise 3 times the big bet, plus add the additional money put in the pot. When I'm in one of the blind positions, I'll occasionally add a bit more, but here I raise up the action to $60. LoJack gets out of the way pretty quickly, but the button checks his cards, thinks for a bit, and jams for his remaining stack, which is about $100. Yep. He flatted initially and then jammed. Yeah, this is not screaming strength. I snap call, of course, and he shows 9-10 of diamonds. That'll work for me. We're off to a flop, which is 3-8 deuce. The turn is the king of spades. Heck yeah. And the river is the 6 of clubs. All right, take this one down. Nice little pot here. Thank you, Mr. Button, sir. Okay, this is a couple of hands later. Here I'm on the button and look down at pocket tens. Oh man, this is probably my least favorite hand. Lots of overcards could come, but still a very strong hand nonetheless. The action folds to the cutoff, who opens for $12. Now this is a pretty young kid. Think he's in college, and most of the younger folks tend to open a bit wider than normal, so need to keep that in mind. But 100% chance of a raise, so I 3-bet to $35. Blinds get out of the way, and the cutoff checks his cards and makes the call. All right, could have a number of things at the moment. A little bit early to get a gauge. We're off to a flop, which is a nice one. Queen 10 deuce rainbow. Heck yeah, middle set. He checks, and no question I want to build this thing up as much as possible, but don't want to scare him off either in case he's on a draw. So I put out a bet of $25, and he makes a relatively quick call. Okay, so maybe something like queen jack, king jack, jack 9, something like that maybe. In the turn, the king of diamonds. Well, that brings in ace jack and jack 9 and opens up a backdoor diamond draw. He checks again, but odds of him having ace jack and jack 9 are pretty specific. If he's got him, he's got him. He could have, though, like a naked jack or possibly 2 pair here and want to continue to charge. I think about a 2/3 size bet is the way to go here, so I put out a bet of $75. And he thinks on this one for a while, a solid 25 seconds or so, and jams for his remaining stack, which is about $220. What the heck? Gosh, just not seeing he's doing this with a nut straight or any straight for that matter. You'd think he'd want to keep me in this thing. Just feels like 2 pair or possibly a diamond draw. Yeah, I gotta call this thing, and I do, and he immediately asks to run it twice, which is a very good sign. The first river is the 4 of hearts, and the second is the 3 of clubs. I show my set of tens and ask him if he was on a diamond draw, and he shows jack 5 of diamonds. All right, nice pot here of over $500. That'll work. Okay, folks, this is almost an hour and 20 minutes later. I've been completely and utterly card dead. Hard to stay focused when all you're getting is 3-7 off, 9-4 off, 3-5 off, and such, but that changes right here. Focus has returned as I look down at pocket kings. All right, I'm in the hijack position, and the LoJack on my right contributes to the pot with a limp. Yep, raising this one up, and I put out 4 red chips for $20. Cutoff on my left makes the call. The big blind, who just sat out and bought into the game for $300, puts in a nice little 3-bet to $90. Oh boy. This one's going to be expensive. The guy on my right gets out of the way, and I confirm with him, and he bought in for $300. And yep, if he has aces, he has aces, and I jam for $300 effective. Cutoff gets out of the way pretty quickly, and the big blind snap calls. Oh no, that's not good. I'm thinking he's either got aces or queens. We're off to a flop, which is 6-6 ace. Gosh dang it. The turn is the 4 of diamonds. I show my kings, and the river is the 10 of clubs. Ah, please don't have aces or ace king. And he shows pocket jacks. Heck yeah. Boy, this session's off to a bang. Thank you, sir, for jamming jacks. Okay, this one's about 45 minutes later. The card deadness has returned, and guess I've been involved in one decent pot over the past 2+ hours now. Man, here I'm in the +1 position and look down at pocket nines. Yeah, this one's kind of like tens for me, a bit tough to play. Here though, I open the action for my standard $15. Folds the LoJack, who makes the call, but the cutoff, who's the same guy from the previous hand, puts in a nice little 3-bet squeeze to $65. Well, we know he's capable of doing this with jacks plus. He's probably also doing this with tens, ace king, ace queen suited, but it folds to the big blind, who jams for his remaining stack, which ends up being $71. What the heck? This is a gross spot. I've still got the LoJack behind me too. Yeah, pocket nines just feels a bit light to 4-bet or even jam here. I'm just not seeing the cutoff folding, so I'd also have to get through the big blind and the cutoff at a minimum. And with pocket nines multi-way, yeah, this is really a call or fold situation. Can't fold quite yet though. Getting a really good price, so I make the call and the LoJack calls as well. Holy smokes, we've got a big pot brewing here. We're 4 ways to a Texas size flop, which is 5 deuce jack with 2 spades. Well, that won't work. I'm first to act and check to the pre-flop aggressor. The LoJack also checks, and the the cutoff c-bets here for a bet of $75. It's not much in comparison to the pot, and he's got about 300 behind after that bet, but now he's creating a side pot, and this bet really does scream overpair for sure. Yeah, I don't think I can call here, especially with the low jack behind who could have called pre with jacks or possibly queens. Too bad on this one, and I'll let it go. The low jack also folds. The cutoff and big blind are going to duke it out, and the turn is the 9 of spades. What? And the river is the jack of clubs. What the heck? And the cutoff shows ace 5 offsuit. You have got to be kidding me. That was a very light 3-bet pre-flop. Definitely want to play in more pots with this guy. The big blind shows ace king offsuit, and the cutoff takes this thing down with a pair of 5s. Holy cow, this one riles me up a bit, that's for sure. Okay folks, this is a couple of rotations later, my third hand to play in the past 2.5 hours. Here I'm in the small blind and look down at king jack offsuit. The under the gun limps, folds to the button who also contributes to the pot with the limp, and the action's on me. Now this feels a bit light to raise from this position. King jack's not an overly strong hand to play, but it's only a buck to complete, and I do something pretty rare in my book and complete from the small blind, and the big blind checks. Okay. So we're 4 ways to a pretty tiny flop, which is about to change. And the flop is 10-6 jack with 2 spades. All right. Top pair and a backdoor spade draw. Now, as no one's shown any aggression pre, I think it's okay to go ahead and lead out here, so that's what I do. I lead for 15 bucks. The big blind makes the call, the under the gun folds, and the button calls as well. Okay. Big blind could really have any 2 cards here as he checked pre, and the button could be on a draw of sorts. We're off to a turn, which is the 5 of hearts. Well, backdoor spade draw is dead, but still have top pair and I think worthy of a continue. So I size up a bit and put out about a 2/3 bet of $30, but the big blind does not fold and puts in the call. Yeah, alarm bells are certainly ringing here. Could have 10-6, 6-5, or maybe calling with a spade or heart draw. Maybe. Button gets out of the way and bit worried here. We're off to a river, which is the queen of diamonds. So the flush draws brick out, but 8-9 doesn't. Really no telling what this guy's got, so I make the check and the big blind checks and shows 5-10 offsuit for the turn 2 pair. Yeah, too bad on this one. Should have raised it up pre or fold for that matter, but can't be results oriented. That's okay. Okay folks, now we're on the part 2 of this video. Got pretty tired and decided to call it quits after this first session and came back the next day, so here we go. Okay, I take my seat here at the same time as last night at about 6:15 in the evening. Bought in for the $300 maximum, and just as I get my chips in this very first hand of the session, I'm in the middle position seat and look down at king-queen offsuit. The under the gun opens the action with the limp. Yep, raising this one up, so I bump up the action to my standard 20 bucks when there's a limper in front. The button's a regular I've played with many times before and makes the call, and the under the gun lets it go. Alright, always nice to be heads up to a flop in Texas. The flop is deuce, deuce, jack, rainbow. Well, not very ideal. I do have some overs and a backdoor draw, so I think a c-bet is okay here from time to time, so I continue here with a bet of $20, and the button doesn't take too long and raises this one up to $65. Yeah, likely very nutted here with like ace deuce or jack 10 or something like that. Of course not sticking around, so I'll let this one go and lose 40 here right off the bat. Okay, this is a few hands later. Here I'm on the button and look down at ace-queen offsuit. The MP off-screen opens the action for $15. The low jack across from me makes the call. The hijack calls and the action's on me. Now this is probably an in-between for a 3-bet or a call. The MP is in a relatively early position, which means his range is likely going to be a bit stronger, but this hand's just a little bit too strong not to squeeze here, so that's what I do. I bump up the action to $75. It's 3 times the big bet plus the additional money put in the pot. The blinds get out of the way and the MP then jams for his remaining stack of 150 or so. Gosh dang it. Low jack and hijack get out of the way, and I tell you, if this were suited, I'd consider a call, but it's not, and I gotta let this one go. He's representing kings or maybe ace king, but just a bummer on this one, and I lay it down. Okay, here I moved seats for a bit of a better camera angle and didn't get a previous hand on videos. I was still setting up, but my stack's a little bit higher and took about a $150 pot down with jack high flush. So this seat's starting off a bit nicely. This hand, I'm in the big blind position and look down at, yep, one of my least favorite hands, pocket tens. Yes, it's good, but it's one of those that generally hasn't treated me well in the past. I guess except during last night. Here though, the MP opens the action for 15 bucks. The button makes the call, the small blind calls, and yep, gotta raise this one up again, so I bump up the action to $75. The MP and button get out of the way, but the small blind fumbles a bit with his chips and puts in the call. And what I've noticed so far is that this guy's had one too many drinks and think he could be really playing any 2 cards. Could be anything suited, including deuce 3 or maybe even 10 deuce suited. Or heads up to a flop, which is 4 king 4 rainbow. Well, not ideal, but there's no guarantee he's got a king or a 4 in his hand. As I'm thinking about what amount I should see bet or not, I don't get the chance as he donks for $75. That is an odd one. Don't really know what to make of this. Does he have a king or a 4 here? Possible. Gosh, tough one here, but can't get away quite yet, especially after that pocket 9's hand from last night where I folded on the flop and a 9 came on the turn. So I'll peel one off here and make the call. If he bets again on the turn, likely going to have to let this one go. And the turn is the Queen of Hearts. Well, that's not going to work. And he doesn't slow down either. I'm sure he can't see overly straight at the moment, but he puts out a bet of $90. Yeah, I can't stick around and I'll let this one go. Too bad, and after the hand he shows me King 9 of Hearts. Yep, calling a hefty $75 3-bet pre with King 9. Hopefully I can single him out later in this session. So, not too upset about this one. Okay, after that previous hand, I had it on for 100 and I've got a chip runner returning in a bit, so I'm in the game for a total of 400 at this point. Here I'm on the button and look down at Queen 10 offsuit. +1 limps. The low jack, who's also got money on the way, limps, and the action's on me. Now, I think a case could be made to either fold or raise this one up. It's definitely a raise on the button if no one's acted in front. I think the same can be said with 2 limpers in front, so that's what I do. I bump up the action to $20. Small blind lady to my left makes the call. The original limper makes the call, and the low jack calls as well. Okay, calling a raise from the small blind is really not that profitable of a decision, so I'm thinking she could be set mining or has got a couple of suited connectors. Ranges are likely going to be pretty wide from the limpers as well. We'll get a better idea post-flop here. We're off to a flop, which is deuce, jack, queen with 2 clubs. All right, top pair, pretty average kicker. The action checks to me as a pre-flop aggressor and most definitely want to charge any club or straight draws. So I continue here with a bet of $25. Small blind gets out of the way pretty quickly, and the same with the +1, but the low jack makes the call with a bit of a tap of his cards. So he could be doing this with a number of cards at this point. Could have a jack with like king jack or possibly ace jack. Could also be on a club draw though. I don't have a club in my hand, so that pretty much means there are more clubs available for him to have. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards at this point. We're off to a turn, which is the nice 10 of hearts. He checks again, and I'm just not seeing he continue with the gutter on the flop unless it was a pretty specific 8-9 of clubs. And no way he limped ace-king either, so I think I have a pretty commanding lead. Now he gets his chips from the chip runner and contributes his $45 from the previous streets, which leaves him about $125 remaining, which is about a pot-sized bet left. Yeah, I think I want to charge any club draws, just not seeing a straight here, so I jam for $125 effective, and he thinks on this one for a while. But after a minute or so, he lets it go, and I take this one down. That'll work. Okay, this is a couple of rotations later. Here I'm back on the button and look down at King Queen offsuit. +1 and the loose guy on my right limps for 2. Yeah, just a lot of limpers here at this game. But we're going to be playing for a bit more than $2, and I bump up the action to $20. Small blind lady on my left makes another pre-flop call from the same small blind position. +1 calls, and the cutoff guy actually folds, believe it or not. Maybe some of this new coffee he's got's helping him out a bit. Or 3 ways to a flop, which is 4, 8, 10, all clubs. Well, that's not going to work. They check to me per the usual, and given this monotone flop and lack of club in my hand, I think a check back is the proper play, so that's what I do. I make the check. The turn is the 10 of diamonds. Yeah, I think I'm done with this hand, and the board's definitely in their range a lot more than mine. Small blind confirms it as she jams for her remaining stack of just under $100. Well, not sure why she's doing this. Could have a 10, pocket 8s, or a couple of clubs, and obviously not worth sticking around. +1 folds, and I'll let this one go as well. Too bad on the flop and turn here. Okay, this is a few hands later. Here I'm in the low jack position and look down at King 10 of hearts. We actually see a non-limp open here as the MP on my right opens the action for $10. All right, time to finally single him out if I can, and given I'm 40% of the way to a royal, I'll bump up the action to $30. Unfortunately, it doesn't fold back to him as the small blind makes the call and the MP calls as well. Well, not quite heads up with this guy, but can make do with the 2 folks here. Hopefully the board is a bit more favorable than the last one. We're 3 ways to a flop, which is 6 deuce queen with no hearts. Gosh dang it, can't really seem to hit anything lately. They check to me as the pre-flop aggressor again, and yeah, no reason to put some of my poker funds into this thing. That queen's going to be in both of their ranges with like queen jack, king queen, and possibly ace queen. So I make the check. The turn is the 6 of clubs. Small blind looks like he's about to bet here, reaches for his chips, but decides to check. Now that's an interesting maneuver. No way this guy on my right noticed given how much he's had to drink, and maybe his coffee's helping, maybe it isn't, but don't think he notices. He now puts out a bet of $50. Yep, pretty easy snap fold, so that's what I do. I'll let this one go. The small blind jams for his remaining stack of just under $130. Well, not surprised given the action before he checked here. The MP asks for a count and it's 128, and he makes the call. The MP shows ace queen offsuit, and the river is the 8 of clubs, and the small blind shows 6, 7 of hearts for trip 6s, and the small blind takes this one down. Fun hand here. Okay, this isn't much later. Here I'm in the small blind position and look down at ace-jack offsuit. We get some familiar pre-flop action as the MP, low jack, and cutoff all limp. The button gets out of the way surprisingly and the action's on me. Yeah, this is a pretty standard raise here. Would prefer it to be suited of course, but it's not and still going to raise this one up. So I bump up the action to $25. Big blind lady makes the call, the MP calls, the low jack calls, and the cutoff lets it go. Man. Not what I like to see. 4 ways with ace-jack offsuit in an early position. Maybe I should have gone to 35 or 40 here, but we're 4 ways to a flop, which is pretty good. 6 ace 4 rainbow. All right, top pair, pretty good kicker. Now, given these folks limped pre, very unlikely any of them's got ace queen or ace king. If anyone has ace queen, possibly the big blind, but going to continue here. At least at these stakes, I'm generally a fan of betting when you've got something, so I continue with a bet of $30. The lady on my left lets it go pretty quickly. The MP thinks for a bit and makes the call, and the low jack calls as well. The heck? What are they calling with? A weaker ace? Do they have like ace 6 or 4? Unlikely they're calling with 3-5 or 5-7. Not seeing those hands calling my pre-flop raise. Not seeing a set from these guys, we likely would have seen a raise as well. A little bit concerning though, and may slow down here a bit if the turn is a blank, but it is not a blank and is the jack of spades. That is about as good as it gets. Top 2. Now I'm hoping one of them's got like ace 4 or ace 6. I've got a little bit more than 200 in my stack and trying to think how I get all of my money into this thing. If I overbet or jam now, that'll likely fold out a naked ace, but if I bet smaller, I think a set of 6s or 4s that might have been trapping would definitely raise now given the 2 spades on the board. Plus, a smaller bet will likely keep in a naked ace, so that's what I do. I put out a bet of $80. The MP thinks for a bit, but lets it go, but the low jack has my chips counted out and makes the call. What the heck? There's no way he's on a spade draw with like 9-10 or something. Maybe like 6-7 of spades, but that's pretty specific. I'm thinking he's for sure got like ace 10, ace 4, ace 6 for sure. I've got the ace of spades in my hand, so don't think he's on a flush draw. We're off to a river, which is the queen of spades. Shouldn't really change much. And again, no way he limped pre with ace queen. Yep, time to jam. So I jam for my remaining stack of $133 and he snap calls. All right. I show my 2 pair and he shows 3-5 of spades. You have got to be kidding me. He called my pre-flop raise with 3-5. What a gut punch. This one really sucks. Holy cow. Well, I've rebought for $300 and I've got some chips on the way, so now I'm in the game for a total of $700. This is a couple of hands later. Here I'm on the button and look down at ace 10 offsuit. Yep, limp in action continues here as the +1, low jack, and cutoff all limp. With 3 limpers in front and a couple of broadways in my hand, a raise is for sure in order, so I raise this one up verbally to 25. Small blind lady on my left seems to like calling raises from that position quite a bit and does so here yet again. The 2 initial limpers let it go and the fun guy in the cutoff position on my right makes the call. Okay. We've got 3-way action to a flop, which is deuce 8-5 with 2 clubs. Well, my 10 is a club and not the ace. Small blind and cutoff players check, and I think a case could be made to check or bet. All I really have are a couple of overs and a backdoor straight draw. Not much, so I make the check. The turn is the king of diamonds. Well, still no help here, and all the backdoors are officially dead. They check to me again, and yep, no reason to continue, so I make the check as well. The river is the 8 of hearts. Yeah, officially done with this hand, and it seems like the small blind is not as she puts out a bet of $50. Likely buying this thing, but not going to take that chance with ace high. Cutoff lets it go, and I do as well. Too bad here. Maybe we'll get a better board next time. Okay folks, this is about 25 minutes later in the last recorded hand of the session. Here I'm in the low jack position and look down at ace king offsuit. There's a $5 under the gun straddle on and the +1 limps for 5. The action's on me and of course I'm bumping this one up, so I'll raise up the action to $25. Pulls back around to the big blind who just sat down a bit ago and won a couple of quick pots, but he puts in a nice little 3-bet to $125. Oh man, this one's going to be pricey. Don't know this guy and haven't seen him before. The action folds back to me and he's got me covered with maybe like $400 or so. Now I could call and see how things shake up on the flop, or I could jam. Doubtfully he's got aces or kings as I've got the blockers, but could very easily have like 10s, jacks, or queens. Yeah, I'm going to 4-bet jam here, especially given the events that have played out so far this session, and that's what I do. I 4-bet jam for $253 and he snap calls. Uh-oh. That is not good. What does he have here? I show my ace king and he does not show. And we're off to a flop, which is 8-4 ace. All right, pretty much confirms we're not up against aces. The turn is the 4 of spades and the river is the 6 of hearts. I've got to be good here. He takes his time and shows ace 6 of diamonds for the rivered better 2 pair. You've got to be kidding me. I get rivered on a jam again this session and on 2 out of the last 3 hands with a bit of a slow roll too. Wow. Not a good finish here. This one definitely stings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, even though this was a bad end of the session, at least last night was a good one. Last night was in for 300 and out for 802 for a total profit of 502. And tonight, in for 700 and out for a big goose egg. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe and have a good one.